Hey, I'm Daniel Dekay, and welcome to Overkill Unearthed. Overkill Unearthed is a new show where we review our favorite records and take a trip down memory lane. If you want your opinion heard, make sure you head over to our Patreon campaign, throw us a couple bucks, help us keep the lights on. Today on Unearthed, I'm checking out the iconic debut record from a New Orleans supergroup that you're surely familiar with. That's right, you knew it. It had to be Down's epic first album, NOLA, released September 19th, 1995 on Elektra Records. This is an album that made huge waves in the metal world when it came out, so before we get to the review, let's talk a little bit about the band and how this album came to be. The term supergroup seems real contrived and kind of just slapped together, and that's what I like about this band. It's more of a perfect storm of a bunch of talented musicians being good friends and bonding on similar musical tastes. We've got
Phil Anselmo
from Pantera and a bunch of other stuff. We got PJ fucking K from COC. We've got Todd and Kirk from Crowbar. And of course, Jimmy Bower from Eyehategod on drums. Pepper and Phil got together between 90 and 95 to start putting together the songs for Down. They released a couple of demos, played a big hometown show finally, and were instantly signed to Elektra Records because of who was in the band. What started out as a cool way to get together, get stoned, rip off Sabbath and St. Vitus riffs was about to become something much, much bigger. A funny aside about the early days of the band is Pepper and Phil used to walk around with the demos at metal shows and hand them out to people being like,
"Hey, have you ever heard of this band called Down?"
But not revealing that they were the dudes in the band. That's cool, eh? Yeah, there's like 4 demos that are all the songs for the first record. I first heard this record sometime in high school when I was well into Pantera and heard that Phil had another band. I had to check it out. When the record was released in 1995, it was instantly met with overwhelmingly positive reviews. The band spawned their only top 40 single from it. They went on a 13-date tour to support the record and then would go on hiatus until they would work on Down 2. The album opens with Temptation's Wings, a super stony, bendy, harmonized riff that really prepares you for what you're about to endure for the next hour. That's right, it's an hour of riff worship. Much like classic Sabbath and Trouble and St. Vitus, the simplicity of the riff is where the beauty really lies. It doesn't get its heaviness from being notey. It really, really stands out from being simple, down-tuned, sludgy, and just downright heavy. When Down says the power of the riff compels me, they're not kidding. Songs like Temptation's Wings, Lifer, Rehab, Losing All, Bury Me in Smoke. This album is riff city, and almost every song is driven by that huge, chunky riff. I gotta give it up for the secret weapon on this album. It's the Bower power, baby. Jimmy Bower on the drums. He's gotta be John Bonham incarnate. He knows exactly what to play to keep the songs pounding, driving, and he hits so goddamn hard. The single kicks and the snare accents everywhere are perfect. His toms sound like absolute thunder. He really does shine on almost every song. For you drum nerds, there's some pretty hot drum moments in Pillars of Eternity and Swan Song. Crumbling world falls through my hand. In my mouth tastes bitter sand. Grass is burning, pulses slow. Drip by drip, my backwards roll. Lyrically, there's a lot of dark and heavy content dealing with the struggles of life. But you know what else there is? Tons of songs about worshiping the leaf. That's right. This is pure marijuana worship, which totally works for me because this album is best enjoyed post-bong toke.
Phil Anselmo.
Where do I even begin? Phil is Phil, and there's always been a reason why he's one of my favorite singers. We all knew he could scream and sound like an absolute maniac based on his Pantera output, but what he really proves on NOLA is that he's got a great clean singing voice, he can really hold down a melody, and he's even got that cool snarl, like the southern rock snarl on the real aggressive parts. I love this album today as much as the first time I ever heard it. As I mentioned, it's really the only Down record that really does it for me, and I still listen to it regularly. I still go check out the band live every chance I get, and NOLA will forever be on my playlist. Well, this record did come out in 1995, and with time and many listens comes time to get a little bit nitpicky. So let's talk about the things that I don't love about NOLA. Production. If you know this record, you know exactly what I'm gonna say. My earliest copies of this record were all like bootleg torrented MP3s, so I always just assumed that it had a weird flat sounding quality to it because of the crappy files I had stolen. But that is not the case. I finally got my hands on a vinyl copy of the record, and that's just the way it sounds. I think the bottom end is mixed really well. It does sound really heavy, but the overall dynamic of the record is a little lackluster. Give me a little more top end. Give me something that's gonna punch me in the face a little more. I would be very interested to hear a remaster of this record or a different EQ of this record, because to me, it really just sounds like a polished demo or some pre-production that got leaked. Other than that, there's only one downer on this record for me, and that's Jail. I don't dislike it because it's a slow song. Slow songs are cool too, man. It just really doesn't build and doesn't get anywhere. I just feel like it drags on, and for me, it's just like a weird filler tune on this record. If this album came out today, I'm confident it would make as many waves as it did in '95. The songs are killer, the performance is top-notch, and it's a prime example of a non-forced supergroup. The only thing I'm gonna say is maybe they could have spent a little less money on weed and a little more money on production. Overall, I wish Down would have put out 3 more records with songs that sound like these ones. And therefore, I'm giving this bad boy 4 out of 5 very stoned skulls. Shoutouts. Now, I'm not gonna throw a new album shoutout with a review from 1995, so why don't we kick it old school for you? If you like Down, you like NOLA, but you're looking for something a little thrashier, why don't you check out Corrosion of Conformity's Animosity from 1985. It's an absolute classic and pioneering record in the crossover thrash sound. Rest in peace, Reed Mullen. Listen to it hard, listen to it loud, crank it up.